Okay, welcome everyone. Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy here at Southland RV. Today we're going to show you how to use your 2024 Wolf Pup 17JW. Now the first thing you're going to want to do when you get to your campsite is you're going to want to hook up your electrical cord. Now it's very important when you're hooking this thing up to make sure that you tighten it on there because you do not want it backing off. So it only goes on one way, and you'll see you actually have like a little L shape. That's the one that goes on the bottom one here. And you just got to put it on there, and then you want to twist it a little bit, and then make sure that you get this round thing, tighten it down on it to keep it from moving. You don't want that going anywhere. Next, we're going to go ahead and take the electric cord. We want to go ahead and plug it into power. Move a little bit closer. Now, before you hook it up to power, I would recommend that you shut off the breaker. That way there you don't get a spark, you don't get an arc, none of that stuff. So make sure that you're plugging into 30 amp 110. Do not plug into a dryer connection. Now, for those of you that might be hooking it up at home, you can get an adapter to hook it here. Just understand there's certain things you cannot operate on your camper. So once it's on there, and I'd highly recommend you get yourself an EMS surge protector to protect you from more than just surges. High voltage, low voltage, miswiring, ground faults, a number of different things. So do yourself a favor and get yourself a EMS surge protector, a good one. I'll have a list down below of a couple that you might want to consider. Now, once you have it plugged in, now we've got to go inside. Let me show you, come on inside. We want to turn what we call the battery disconnect on. That is to go ahead and connect the battery to the system. Now here's the thing, if you were just towing this, you would have already had it on. So come on in, let me show you where that is. So the battery disconnect is right down here. You got a little key, and all we're going to do is line it up, put it on, and now it's turned on. So now we're set, power is coming to the coach. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Let's start outside now. So we're going to start in the front, we're going to walk around the outside, and then we'll go inside to explain things to you. So this is obviously your tongue jack. It is a manual tongue jack. You can always upgrade that to a power tongue jack if you wanted to. Be sure that you unlock your the ball. This, by the way, this is 2 5/16 ball. Unlock that before you're lifting it off the ball. Sometimes it might be a little tight, which you might need to move your vehicle a little bit. Chalk your tires before you do that. You do have one 20-pound LP tank. Now when you're turning this thing on, make sure that you turn it on slowly. If you turn it on too fast, it could shut the system down. So that's important. And we're going to go ahead and light the stove when we get inside. So coming around this side, you do have this is an on-demand water heater. Now, there's people out there to talk about putting a cover over these, the same type of bug covers that you use on your furnaces, because if water gets in there when it's raining or whatever, that could cause an issue. Another issue that can be caused on this is in the event you had low water pressure. So if you have low water pressure, and you'll know by the error code, you better look that up, then what I would recommend you do is fill your fresh water tank and use the water pump. That'll give you enough pressure to actually utilize that. And I'll go over more when we get inside and I'll show you how to set that. But for your water connection, you have your city water. That is where you're going to go ahead and hook to water, and now you've got as much water that you can use. Keep in mind, we're going to talk about the gray tank because you're not going to want to overflow things. If you're going to be going somewhere where you're not going to be able to plug into water, that's when you fill up your fresh water tank and use your water pump. Now we do have an outside shower here. By the way, there are a set of keys. This particular one, this is going to be a 751 key that goes in here. All right, so right now we have water in the fresh water tank, and I'm just going to be demonstrating how this shower works. So this is no different than what you have on the inside. You have hot and cold water. Now, if I had the water heater on, I could have hot water out here. I'm going to explain how that works inside so you have a better idea. Now, with the shower head, you could be rinsing off and you could shut it off, soap it up, and turn it back on. Now, why would you want to do that? If you were just using your freshwater tank, you want to limit the amount of water that you use, so you're able to do that. Be sure that you put this back in here properly. Make sure it's shut off, and then of course we're just going to go ahead and lock it up. But I'll get that put in later. So that's how easy it is for the water heater. Now let's talk about if you wanted to empty your freshwater tank. Since the fill is right here, this is where the dump is. You see this big. So since the water fill is right there, there's your freshwater dump. And then here you have your low point drains. Now your low point drains, what you'll be doing with those, when you're done camping, I'd highly recommend after you disconnect the water, open those up. Now you might want to consider maybe opening up maybe the outside shower, get the pressure off, and then just open those, let the water drain. Last thing you want to do is leave water in the lines, because you know what happens to water, stagnant water in lines. It gets pretty nasty, right? Now, when you're chalking these tires, I highly recommend you chalk both sides, and you want to have them tight. So when you back it in your campsite, put the chalks on the back side of the tire, back up hard against it, and then have somebody put a chalk in front of the tire. You want to wedge that, because the more you don't get movement back and forth, the more stable your camper's going to be. We're going to talk about your stabilizers here when we get on the other side here. Now this is your dump area. Now you do have a light here. Now just in case, I know this is never going to happen, but just in case you got to campground and it was late, it was dark, you have light, you can see where you're going to hook up. You'll be able to see where the water hooks up. And this is your sewer hose. So you hook a sewer hose up to this, and you have black and you have gray. Be sure that you leave these things closed while you're camping. These are only meant to be dumped when they're full or when you're done camping. So what you're going to want to do is, when you are done camping and you need to empty the black tank, highly recommend that you go ahead and dump the black tank first. Make sure that it's full. If you have to, you can use the, I'll show you the shower hose to fill up the black tank. And then you pull this and it dumps. When your black tank's done emptying, you may want to rinse it out. Now I recommend the swivel stick. You have to drag a hose in to the bathroom, put that down in the toilet, and that cleans out that black tank really, really good. The better you clean it, the less chances you're going to have an 𝐵𝚘𝚘 next time you go camping. You pull this cap off, you're not going to have stuff sitting there. So do a good job cleaning. When you're done cleaning out the black tank, I would highly recommend you put a little bit of water and chemical in there, so that when you're towing it home, it's going to slosh around, it's going to keep your tank clean. So you have this thing closed. When you're done with that, you open the gray tank. Now the reason why you're using the gray tank second, so you clean out the hose, because you're going to be disconnecting this and you got to store it somewhere. So get all that nasty stuff out of it. Now you may want to have some gloves for that. That'll be helpful. Do not ever leave your gray tank open all the time. Well, you could have three different problems that could happen. One, if there's a backup in the campground, it's going to back up through here and go in through, and you're going to have it all through your camper. That's number one. Two, you could get sewer flies in your camper. Three, it's going to dry out your seals in here, and it's going to create an issue in your gray tank. You can use the same chemical for your gray tank that you use for the black tank. So any questions on that? Like I say, any questions on anything I'm going over here, put a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer them. So that's your black tank stuff. On the back here, you do have a tray. It folds down, as you can see. So if you want to carry a generator back here, you want to carry some wood, whatever, cooler, it gives you something to go ahead and carry back here. Now, to put it back up, let me just get the pins out of the way here. You can always take the spare tire off of that if you don't want to have it back here. Just put it up here. Make sure you get the pin all the way through, and then make sure you put the pin through that. I know some of you are probably saying, "Oh, Paul, where the heck do I put my sewer hose? I see that you got this bumper back here. Can I put it in my bumper?" And you could put the sewer hose in the bumper. The problem with that is these caps end up coming off as you drive down the road, and then your sewer hose is going to drag. If you're going to go ahead and put a sewer hose in here, highly recommend you get something to retain this in the bumper, because otherwise, when you're taking them off and on all the time, they get very loose. And trust me, It's the last thing you're going to want to have happen. Now you do have a door to get into the bunk area. Inside the door, you do have this. And you see how you have the strap, so that if you want to go ahead and put this up, you can see the strap will lock up there, and then see how much room you have in this area to put things. Or you can just put things there. Nice thing is you can store things there even while people are in the bunks there. But let's talk about the other thing. So if you have a pet, cat or a dog, you can leash them up here. Just don't be a Chevy Chase and leave your dog attached to this while you drive down the road though. Now I'm going to show you how to put down the stabilizers. Now keep in mind that these are stabilizers. They are not levelers like so many people might tell you. You can put some weight on them, but they are just stabilizers. Now you have this little chain right here. What this is meant for is when you have them up, you attach this to this foot here. So that way there, if for some reason the foot came off, make sure you take it off, otherwise it'll break the chain. You can get yourself a screw gun to put these down. Just understand once it hits the ground, use this to put some weight on it, because the screw gun may not be able to put the weight on it that you want put on it. As you can see, it doesn't take very long to put this thing down here. Give me a moment here. Obviously, the faster you turn it, the faster it goes down, right? All right, now I got some weight on it. So you'd put all 4 stabilizers down. What I typically do on the stabilizers, I'll put a level like on the back or the front, figure out which side it might be leaning to. And by the way, you can always put the Anderson levelers under a tire to give you 1 to 4 inches if you need to level it side to side. But I'll put the side that it may be leaning to, those stabilizers down first, put a little bit more pressure to try to bring it back up a little bit more level. Keep in mind, these are not made for you to go ahead and change your tires. It's not made for that. You put some weight on it, just don't put a lot. All right, so that's that. Now you do have outside stereo speakers. You can put a TV out here if you wanted to. You have 110 outlet. You have a cable connection here. Now the cable connection is for 2 things. One, if you're at a campground and there's cable, you're gonna have cable coming through your TV. 2, you have an antenna on the roof so you can watch local TV. So that's that. Now you could mount it right here if you wanted to, or you can just put it on a stand. This is the furnace exhaust, and I was talking about, they have these rings that go around them. You put them on there, little wire that holds them on there. Now, you remember I was talking to you about your black tank and filling your black tank to rinse it out? This thing does come with a black tank rinse. I don't particularly care for black tank rinses. They don't work. By the way, you can always check out on my channel, check out the clogged RV toilet. You'll see why, because they don't work. Now you do have an outside, might help you have the key. And this does come with keys, folks. This is another 751 lock. This is an outside refrigerator, so you can keep your beverages out here. Now I know the first thing comes to mind when I talk to people, they say, great, I keep my beer in there, but really, do you want to get out of your chair to go get a beer? Heck, I'd rather have it in the cooler sitting right next to my chair. This thing does come with an ice maker, folks. It goes in your freezer right here. I know some people don't know how that works. What you do is you put water in this, put it in the freezer, and it makes ice. Okay, that's in there. This is a 110 refrigerator. I want you to make sure that you're aware of that, because if you leave this, let's say you're camping for 1 or 2 weeks, this thing could frost up a little bit. You want to watch that. Make sure you shut it off when you get home. I tell you to put a towel in here while you're going home, because as it defrosts, you have that water coming down. You don't want to have an issue inside here. And then when you get home, make sure you get the towel out. Make sure you dry it out, clean it out real well. So that turns on, again, that's 110. So it's not going to operate as you go down the road. So now let's talk about the vent here. This is the vent that's over top of your cooktop. Make sure that you have it detached when you're going to use it. But make sure when you're not using it, make sure it's closed. Otherwise, you will get critters coming in through there. That's very important. Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to put out the awning. This awning is very difficult to put out. You got to push a button. You need to have power on in order for it to go out. It's using battery power, 12-volt power, but it's going to give you great cover. As you can see, you got to have your door out of the way. That's more important when you're closing it. But you can even have one of your children do this. need be. Now as that's going out, you can see we have blue light across here. I like the fact that they're using a blue light. Mine has a white light, and boy, I'll tell you, I never use it because of it. Now you can see where I have this piece hanging down. Sometimes that gets caught up there and it won't drop. If that's the case, roll it back in until it drops and then put it back out. Now these awnings are made so that you can adjust it a little bit. So you can loosen these and then pull this down so you can dip it on one side or the other in the event of rain. Now, you got to be very careful with these if you're going to leave them out in rain. I would tell you, make sure you have it drooped a little bit, because right now it's straight across, it'll collect water, it'll drop. But the more importantly, you want to watch from a wind standpoint, because within seconds this thing could be on your roof. I keep mine out all the time, but I have cargo straps holding them down on both sides. So, but keep in mind that also could create issues, because you could have the ends ripping because it's flopping, and you could get a rip there. That happens. So be careful. If you're ever leaving your campsite, put the thing away. Make sure these things are loose when you're bringing it back up. You do not want these tight, because these things slide just ever so slightly. All right, so that's all the outside. Oh, hold on, I didn't show you, by the way. We do have your front storage here. And this one does have a solar panel on the roof, and you have a charge controller that's in here, so you'll be able to actually see what the battery power is on your battery when you're disconnected. You do not want to ever check that when you're connected to power, because that gives you a false reading. I'll show you inside as well. So that has a magnet that holds it up, so you don't need to use your head. Right up front here, right there. So and then all you're doing is you're pushing this in to pull this out. You connect it and then you turn it on. That's how that works. Make sure you put this back in. It's a lot easier with two hands. Push that back and put that in. Keep junk from getting in there. For the steps, let me talk to you about the steps on this here. Let me put away the awning, because with the awning, this door has to be open all the way when you put the steps in or pulling them out. Do not put out your awning and then try to put your steps out, because it will not work. Okay, so that's away. Now we got to open the door all the way. It's imperative that you understand that these steps are bolted to the floor. So if you're putting it away and it's been raining out, you want to wipe these steps off the best you can before you put them in. So they fold right up inside. They'll latch in there. Do not slam them up there too quickly. Sometimes they will go past here. Not a problem if it does. You just unbolt it, and this thing will slide. You'll be able to get back in place. This is the area you need to be careful of. What I would tell you to do is, if you are putting it away wet, put a towel here to collect the water as you're towing home, and when you get home, pull the towel out. And you may want to seal the tops of these screws as well. Now, as you bring this thing out, I like the way this step is made, because you don't have the bolts you got to worry about. It's a manual style. But putting it back in, don't ever adjust your camper up and down with this door closed and the steps out, because if you're going to go ahead and put the nose down, this thing's going to raise, and that's going to create an issue. So just be careful of that. You do have a screen door that does operate, and it has the cover that comes across. The reason why that cover comes across is you open your door, then you can get to your door itself. So let's go inside, and we're going to show you how to put the slide out. Okay, so this is what it looks like when the slide is in. So now we're going to go ahead and, so you can actually utilize the whole camper. You can come in, you can use the dinette, you can use your kitchen, refrigerator, use the bathroom. But now we're going to go ahead and put this thing out. You want to make sure, I would tell you, to be hooked up to power. I know it's battery operated, but you need maximum power, in my opinion. So hook to your truck, hook to power is the best way to operate this in and out. Now, okay, so now it's out. Now, in the event that you have an issue and for whatever reason it's not going out or coming in and the cables are in place, all you need to do is take this bottom face plate off there, and the contraption will be under there. What you're going to be doing is putting this in your screw gun, and you'll just have to play with it. I can't remember if it's which one it is for going out or going in, but it's either going to be tightening or loosening, one of the two. You'll see you put this in, and have a place in the motor, put it in there, and it moves the cables. It makes it very, very simple. And they'll explain it in the owner's manuals on that as well. Okay, so now as you come in the door, this is where you're going to check all your levels and everything. So your battery level, now that's erroneous reading because we're plugged in. Fresh water tank, we do have some in there. Black and gray are empty. We have the water pump on, this is tank heaters to put your awning lights. Now for the awning lights, what that does is that works the lights, the awning lights on the outside, but it also, if you take a look at your lights right here, it's the light, the blue lights for the speakers in here, and it also for this light right here, what that does, and it's hard to see right now, but you can see, let me move this carpet. Can you see where it says Wolf Pup on the floor? So as you come in the door, you can see Wolf Pup there. The convenience light, this is the one when we're outside by your sewer tank. So that's all there. Now they do have a scan me right here for your for resources, and this talks about the cable adjustments and so on and so forth. And then you also have another Insight scan code right there. So that's as you come in. Now let's talk about your air conditioner. I'm going to talk about this first. So I'm going to shut it off here. So when you're running this, this just works from here. So it's right here, and it's also on this side. Now what you're going to be doing on this, it has low fan, high fan, low cool, and high cool. Now it's very important that when you have it on air conditioning, don't have this thing turned up all the way. Turn it back ever so slightly. Otherwise this AC will freeze up and you won't be able to use it. So keep it in mind. Now why would you want low cool over high cool? Low cool, if it was very humid out, it's going to take the airflow slower over the coils, taking more moisture out, making it feel like it's cooler in here. It's not necessarily going to be any cooler, but it's going to feel cooler. So that's that. Next you have the stereo. This is AM/FM stereo. It's also Bluetooth. You have an HDMI. You want to put into it also USB. And then you can see your voltage for the battery is right there. That's there, as well as up underneath in the storage center. Now if you put a TV in here, you have to get something that mounts and fits there. But this is where you would be turning on your antenna. That turns the antenna on. See the green light? I don't know if you can see that green light. Let me try that again. See how the light's off? Now the green light's on. That means your antenna is on, so you're able to search for local channels. Okay, whether you're inside or outside. These are your keys that you're going to have. What you're going to have is you're going to have one key for your front door, one key for your back door. Then you're going to have a 751 key, and that is to open up your storage door outside and your outside shower. Next, this is of course your bed area. And let's just check something here. So you see how you have a handle. So this is your storage down below there. There is, if you can see that in the front there, you can see there is your charge controller right there. And there's a light switch right next to it, so you can actually have light inside there. Now on this side, that's where your water heater is, as well as the water stuff, and that's easy to get to if you need to from a service standpoint. So that's under the bed. Now obviously this lifted up pretty easy because of the type of mattress that's on it. The heavier the mattress, the harder this thing's going to be to lift. Keep that in mind. This does have a little cubby storage down underneath there. You do have, you see they put some type of contraption up over here. You see what that is there. So you have an outlet, you have USB ports there as well, and then you have another USB port was down over here. Thought I saw, oh, right here on this side. Your windows, you have the shades. This is an emergency window, but you can put this emergency window out tell it hasn't been opened. Typically what happens, folks, if you don't use this window much at all, what happens is the rubber seal around it is going to stick. What I'd recommend you do is clean them off every now and again and put some talcum powder on it, and that'll keep it from sticking against your window. Okay? But you can actually use this if you wanted to, just for air, breeze. You know, the window this side, the window by the sink, your other window over by the dinette. So, but that is your emergency window in the event that you needed to get out. You also have another emergency window over here. This one just slides, and then of course you have the screen on that side. This is going to be a wide window. You see how that slides? It's a much larger window, correct? So that's that. Now the lights, as you can see, that we have in here, all these lights are individually turned on and off. So you can have on whichever ones you want or the ones you don't want, just by pushing the buttons. Let's talk about your kitchen here. I'm going to put down these blinds here. I like the fact that they put this little thing over here where you can wrap it up, but this thing, the reason why you don't have the cloth blinds over here is because of the cooktop. So you have this here now. That makes it a little bit easier. So now what we have is we have a sink here. And that is a deep sink, as you can see there. I'm just going to look underneath. Always, I just check. I want to talk to you a little bit about this P-trap. This is one of these new fandangled P-traps that are in here, and they have kind of like a little flapper in there. Sometimes they stick together, or something will get stuck in there, and then your sink won't drain. If that happens, the best thing you can do is dump really, really hot water down there, or if there's not a lot of water, you can use a little bit of air compressed air to push it through to get that working again. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now for your cooktop, remember, make sure that your LP tank is open when you're doing this. Now this thing has its own clicker, as you can hear it. And what you got to do is you turn it on a little bit. Now you see how it lit? Once it lights, you got to turn it a little bit further, and then it'll stay on. If for some reason you're having a hard time, you can use one of these things, these contraptions. If for some reason you could use it also, if these things for some reason don't work. But if you don't get it turned over far enough, then it won't come on. Notice how it's showing red on there. Nice thing with that is, for some reason, if you had this thing on, you see how it's showing red? You'll smell LP eventually, but you'll be able to see that that's red. It does have a light where it's blue, if you wanted to have it blue. So that's that. Now your heater, let's talk about when you turn your heater on. This is your heater, and everything just blows here. Now I'd highly recommend, before you ever turn your heater on or your water heater on, either one, light these burners after you have the LP tank open. And the reason why we're doing that is we're bleeding the lines of any air pockets, and so now you know that your LP lines are full of LP. They're out of air. Then what you're going to do is, now we want to go ahead and turn on the furnace. Here's what's going to happen. When I turn it on, you're going to hear a fan come on. Then what's going to happen is, after a little bit, it wants to clear the air of any possible air LP. It gets any of that stuff out of the way, and then it'll light. In the event that it tries 3 times and it doesn't light, it will shut off. The fan will continue to run for a little bit, then it'll shut off. So if you ever have a problem with the furnace coming on and it doesn't light, shut it off and light that cooktop. So now we're going to turn it on here. I'm turning it all the way up, and you can hear it's already on here in a moment. Now the best thing that you could do, if you wanted to see if your hearing isn't as well, you can go outside, right outside here, outside the door. I can hear it lighting, and I'm not sure if it lit or not, but you can always, within a couple minutes, you can feel the hot air here. But worst case scenario, you can always go out to the exhaust. Be careful, run your hands by it. You'll feel the heat out there quicker than you will in here. And I can feel that it did already light. Now with this furnace, because it's lighting right here, your thermostat is here. What's going to happen is, you're going to notice peaks and valleys with heat if you're running the heater. So keep that in mind. Something I highly recommend you do if you're plugged into power, get yourself a little heater, ceramic heater, something to go ahead and supplement the heat, and that way there you'll have a more consistent heat. Now, once I shut this thing off, the heat is cut off. Or I say the LP is cut off from the furnace. And then the fan will continue to run for a few moments. It smells like they never used this furnace in this particular one. That's still smelling new. So I'd highly recommend before you, if you're buying something new, run that furnace until it burns off the newness, because it will go ahead and set off the smoke detector after a while. Okay, so now for your refrigerator, all you're gonna do is you're gonna open it up. The light's gonna come on whether it's on or off, just the way it works. You see it's showing normal, meaning the battery's in good shape. We push and hold this button until this thing clicks at you. Now right now it's set up, at the bottom here it says freezer, at the top it's gonna say refrigerator. But you see we're at 5 degrees for the way I had this on earlier. Now what I'm doing is I push this button here again. Now it goes up to the refrigerator part, and you're gonna set your refrigerator for the temperature. Once it gets to that temperature, then it'll stop. You see it's blinking because it's not 38 degrees in here. Of course, I got this door open, right? So that's how you set that up. This thing does open from either side, as you can see. Now, why would you want that to happen? Well, you know, obviously, you're probably gonna have children over here, and that way if they're thirsty or hungry at night, they don't have to get out of bed. They can just go ahead and reach over, open up the refrigerator door, and get their goodies. You might not want to show them that, though. Now, they're not gonna be able to get in the freezer and get their ice cream, though, okay? So that's that. You do have your breakers and fuses down here. Now, just a tidbit of information on the breaker, on the fuses. In the event that something is not working, a light switch, you've got to have the whatever it is that's not working on in order for there be a red light on the side here. The other alternative is to pull every fuse and check them. But if for some reason you're trying to operate the awning and it's not going out, if you need 2 people for this, somebody pushes the awning button, you can look in here and you see if it's a bad fuse, because it'll light up red on the other side. Breakers, of course, in the event something trips, you're able to do that. Remember I told you about the LP leak detector, CO detector, it's right here. Again, that will go ahead and chirp at you in the event that the battery is low power when you're not plugged in. Now on both beds, you do have lights. You have a light up top, you have a light down the bottom. Now that does have a door, and it has a deadbolt on it. So you have a regular lock and a deadbolt. Let's go in the bathroom. Let's talk to you about the bathroom here. Now this is the water heater that I was going to tell you about. And let me show you what we do on this water heater. So right now it's off. It's a Furrion water heater. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, actually it was on. All right, now it's on. There we go. Now you see, it's set at 124 degrees. I would tell you to set this at the temperature that you want it to be when you're running the water. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and turn on this water. And what's going to happen, see how it's at 66 degrees right now? In a moment here, it's going to start heating up. See how the flame came on? Now it's starting to heat up. Now it's starting to get hot. So now the water's coming through here. It's at 113. Oh, now it's really getting hot. Now it's getting almost too hot for touch. People typically set these things at about, they'll set it at about 108, maybe 110 degrees. And when you do that, then all you need to do is turn on the hot water side. You don't need to turn on cold water when you're using it. To adjust the temperature, all you're doing is pushing the button. Okay? So you'll have continuous hot water, assuming you don't overfill your gray tank or run out of water. Now the nice thing is, when the gray tank fills up, it's gonna fill up the tub here. So that way there, if you're ever standing in a tub and you see the water start backing up in it, that's telling you the gray tank is there. So that's that. Now let me show you something here with this shower. Now I want to talk to you about the shower hose. I like the fact that it's coming down the bottom here because that's going to be nice. But you see how they have this thing? This is for cross-contamination. I hate that, personally. I'm just going to tell you myself. Now you can do what you want with it, but I can tell you this is exactly what I do. See how I took it out of there? Because see now, let's say you have a little child, you need to go ahead and wash their hair. If it's through there, it's hard. If you want to go ahead and fill up your toilet, it makes it hard. So take it out of there, and then it'll still go up here. The only thing you got to do is you just got to get it set. You got to get this thing set so that when it's up there, it's coming down on you. But see, now that makes it so much easier. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing on. As you can see, then you have shower. Now in the shower itself, you do have a button. Let me take this thing off here. I'm going to show you. You have a button. Right now it's on. You get in if you want to. You can shut it off. You're wet. Now you soap up. Turn it back on. And you can rinse off. If you want to take the military showers, you can. Now, when would you want to do that? If you're on the fresh water tank, because then you're going to have limited water at that point. I'm going to let this stay down here, so that way there it doesn't drip of water. Trying to get that thing to stay up here. There we go. Take that thing out of there. So that way there. Now that's set. That'll drain. Now let's talk about your toilet. With the toilet, you always want to have some water in the black tank. When you're going to end some chemical. Now what you're going to do first, let's say it's the first time you're using it. What you do is you can fill this bowl here by just pushing a little bit on the bottom. Whoop, you see how it's getting the water pressure coming through there. You have some air pockets. But see, it's coming through. You fill that up, dump it down in there. Do that a couple times. Put a packet of the chemical in there, or dump a couple ounces and you'll be good. Always leave a little bit of water in there. That keeps the seal from getting hard, and it will also keep odors from coming back up. So that's how that works there. Okay, now same thing here. You do have a medicine cabinet. You also have storage underneath here. Got a little, you see a little toilet paper holder there for you, and that's all good. So let's talk to you about this dinette booth. This dinette booth will fold down to a table, down to a bed, and it's a nice long bed as well. All you need to do in order to make it a bed, you take the table off. You take these legs off here, just lay them down there. Now this table is just going to lay on these, as you can see. Okay, so all you have to do get it in there. Now, underneath this, you do have storage on the drawers. Notice how it caught as I brought it out. That's so it doesn't fall out when you see a little trash can when you're driving down the road. Now you also have access to get under here by lifting this, but you can see how long that drawer is. But if you didn't want to pull out that drawer, you could do that. Same thing on this back side. This is where you put things when you're not maybe using them as much. Again, using one hand is kind of tough here, but you see then more storage there. So that's what it looks like underneath there. All right, so basically, sorry about that. I had a little time figuring out how this thing goes. So you have the two big cushions go basically like that. Then you take the other smaller ones and they're going to fit in here like this. You can play with it all you want and figure out what you do. Most people, what they do is they'll get themselves some type of like a foam topper to lay on there, so that way there you don't feel all these different lines in there. Now, after you put the table back on the legs, and all they do is slide in there, right? Take your hands and hit on both of these pipes just to make sure you get it down there, and then it makes it a lot more solid. There is another USB port there. Remember we talked about you had one for the bedroom, and then of course you have this contraption back here, and that might actually be a small power inverter or just a protection type device that somebody put in their camper. Again, 110 outlets up here. Mount, oh, I didn't show you. You do have storage up above there. Storage up above your cabinet here. And storage underneath your sink. Now bringing the slide out in, you want to push And make sure you hold this button the whole time and hold it for a few seconds after it's all the way in. And there it is. I appreciate you watching. Any questions, reach out to me. Contact information down below. So thanks for watching. I'll be back again soon. Take care.